probably hot already. You can
Oh, no, I'm
feel
good.
that
I'm good.
fan towards you more. Yeah.
I very seldom use aircon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. This is my buddy Winz. Not a close friend, acquaintance, but after today, we'll definitely be closer. Man.
We'll be rocking. We'll be rocking. Let's do a show together.
We should.
I've come to your shows. You've come
Yeah.
to mine, and
We played together once a couple times, just like zero practice. Let's
Let's just
go for
jump on
it.
in.
Yeah.
Jump up. Yeah.
It worked okay.
That was. Let's see. I think the last one was a deep party that we
Yes.
did.
Few years ago.
Outside.
Right around COVID, because he had the great idea of doing this outside concert. Yeah.
Out by the pier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. So aircon.
Aircon.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you today, actually,
Right.
because it's just so topical because
Right.
it's so hot out. It's 33 degrees today,
Right,
but
right.
you're okay with the heat?
When I normally go to bed or I sleep, I turn my aircon off.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I'm sweating, but I turn my aircon off. The reason is because it really affects my throat.
right. Yeah.
And if I'm really tired and I'm sleeping with my mouth open, this is detrimental to a performer. So,
Right. Yeah.
that's why I basically have just trained myself to not use aircon.
Right. Well, I already see that my introduction was insufficient. So, Winz is he's a singer, voice actor, all-around performer, songwriter. So yeah, we'd like to talk about all those things. But
Sure.
I said so. Right now, the air conditioner, because somebody's over and we're talking, and the windows are open, letting the sun in. I have it at 26. Normally, I would have it at 28 with the fan at the lowest setting. So my goal is just to take away the humidity.
Sure.
When I sleep, it's at 28. Same thing, the lowest thing. And I find that doesn't like dry me out or too much. I'm still a little hot. I'll even wake up at night with wet.
Right.
But it's okay. But you're like zero aircon. How about a fan? For me, a fan is worse.
Fan is worse. I don't use a fan.
Yeah.
I would say with my children, when I'm at home, my children, they enjoy the aircon. They enjoy the fans. They want it just right directly in front of their faces. But I'm always monitoring because my sleep schedule is always sporadic. And I sometimes sleep in the day if I don't get a lot of sleep at night. So I'm monitoring the aircon and just making sure that it's not drying them out or it's not too cool in the room. I also do it in the winter as well. My wife is very different. She just falls asleep and lets everything go. But for me, because I care about my particular health as far as aircon, I do monitor when I get home.
Yeah, it's important. I also believe that people are supposed to be hot in the summer. You're supposed to feel a little cold in the winter. Like you acclimatize yourself to wherever you're living. But people these days, because of modern conveniences, they crank up the heat in the winter, so they're like never cold.
Right.
And then they crank up the air conditioner in the summer, so they're never hot.
Right.
And I have a feeling it does something to, I don't really know, I'm not like that much into health, but I think, you know what, if I'm a little sweating or whatever at home in the summertime, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be, It's supposed to be like that. So yeah, I think it's probably bad for your health to be cold in the summertime or cool in the summertime and hot in the winter. So
You know what? I was thinking just the other day, where would we be without aircon?
oh yeah, it's crazy.
Where would we be? I was reading in the Japan Times just yesterday that they've noticed that the tracks are warping.
Really?
The railroad tracks are warping, yes.
Because of the heat.
Because of the heat, yes.
Wow, that's insane.
Because of the extreme heat. And what they did, they put ice packs on the tracks to cool them down.
Really?
They actually stopped the trains.
Wow.
I think this was in Kagoshima, they stopped the trains. And so if we're anticipating that the global heat is going to continue rising, what's going to happen with transportation?
Yeah, that's crazy. A comedian said some funny, although sexist, and I don't condone this, comment that women chose the ideal time to go into to start working in offices. They just stopped staying at home and went and started work. We want to go to the workforce as soon as air conditioning was invented.
Yeah, that could be true.
Yeah, definitely helps. Japan actually, the Japanese government actually set 28 degrees as the official temperature that office buildings can be in the summer. But I think government offices, like if you've gotten your visa renewed anytime soon, then you know that place is not air conditioned very well, and you go and you're sitting in there and you're sweating.
Right.
Sometimes they even have the windows open and a fan, like in the middle of the summer. But I hear all the time, especially from the office ladies, that they bring sweaters to work, sweaters and a blanket because it's so cold. And so, yeah, again, that's strange. So your daily schedule, you said sleeping hours sporadic. So tell me what the daily life of a performer in Japan is. First of all, I gotta say, you how many nights a week are you at Garage Paradise in Kobe, which is a great place to go if you're in Kobe or even Osaka and you want some live nightlife entertainment? Great R&B, pop, rock. You doing your rock?
We do a little rock.
Okay. So, great performer, non-stop energy. Yeah. I don't know where you get your energy.
Me.
Oh, you're saying where? You're saying we. Who's you performing together now with somebody?
Occasionally.
Oh, okay.
Occasionally,
it's you and then sometimes somebody else, right?
Yeah, occasionally I will put together a band and promote the band experience.
And you play at Garage Paradise?
Not only Garage, we play at Alchemy as well.
Okay, cool. That's a stellar band, by the way. I know some of the musicians, and they're amazing.
Yeah. They've been around for a while.
Do you guys even rehearse, or you just?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we normally rehearse at least 2 or 3 times before we do an event because the guys are actually performing various other places too.
Right,
and learning so many songs, so we try to, regroup and gather our thoughts of this direction for this event. But as you were saying before, the question you asked me, what is a performer like myself doing on a daily basis? I would say after my events, I finish maybe 1, 2 a.m. Then I may sleep for like an hour or two, but I will definitely get up like around 4 or 5 a.m. and I'll do a walk. I'll do an 8K walk. I normally go from Sonomiya to Ojizu.
Oh, okay.
I make the rounds and then up the hill over there. That's like more of a 2-hour track for me. And then I will come back and I normally have a digital diary that I record my thoughts and my daily activities or what I did the day before or how my performance went or did I meet somebody who was interesting, family, things like that I record on my digital diary. And then I will basically do a little bit more exercise, just vocal or return my emails, things like that. And then I will try and get a little bit more sleep.
So the sleeping after your gig, is that like kind of a nap for you? That would be like me in the afternoon taking a nap?
I guess
so your schedule just kind of like shifted.
Right.
Play the gig, take a nap.
Yeah.
You do some exercise.
Yeah.
Do some other stuff. Go to sleep. And so when you go to sleep the second time, what time are you going to sleep usually?
Normally it's probably around afternoon because I'm normally back from my walk around 8 a.m. and I will proceed to do a number of things before noontime. If I have any appointments or things like that, I will normally just proceed with those appointments. I try to do all of my events early to allow myself to actually have proper sleep so I don't run the risk of having a restrictive vocal range because I noticed that when I don't get a lot of sleep, my throat or my vocal cords are restricted and feeling tighter.
Yeah.
So I want to have the limberness, with the proper rest.
I think everybody's different in regards to like things that you can eat or not eat or drink or not eat or whatever, and drink or not drink when you're singing, before you're singing, whatever. But sleep is universal.
Right.
You don't sleep, you're not singing well, I think.
That's it.
And you might get away with it a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it catches up to you for sure.
Right.
Okay, but the obvious question, of course, is why don't you just finish your gig and sleep like a straight 6 or 8 hours, and then wake up and go about your day? So why do you prefer this schedule?
Waking up early, there is just something about waking up early that actually activates the brain for me. And it's been proven actually between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. We have the most cognitive alertness in our brain. And secondly, it's because of the heat.
Oh, yeah, right,
Japan.
right. Yeah, if you're going to go for a walk, early or really late is really better, right?
Yeah.
I found that when I'm writing, mixing, editing, whatever, all that stuff, nighttime is better. I prefer to flip my schedule around and go to bed around 6, 7 a.m., sleep until 12 or 1, then get up and have my breakfast or lunch, whatever you call it, do something, maybe hit the beach late afternoon or get some sun, come back and then work from dinner until early morning again. But I think it's because I've always said that there's a certain energy at night that you get. There's something in the air, like everybody else is asleep, and it's almost like you get their energy or something like that. Right. But I've heard somebody else say something much less romantic, that it's because nobody's mailing you and nobody's calling you and nobody's asking you questions and there's nothing on TV that actually makes you feel like there's more energy. But either way, I find the result the same. However you think of it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I find that definitely while everyone else is asleep and you just listen, it's like nothing going on.
Right.
Yeah, it's the best time for creativity. I find.
I also think that we are creatures of habit as well. If you are someone who's performed a lot at night, you still have that particular setting in your brain logged there, and it's just there, and it's like at this particular time, this is what I was normally doing. I was on stage, I was enjoying myself, and then those flashbacks come, and that keeps you alert at night of always reliving that experience, I think. Yeah, do you get jet lag? Occasionally, no. I used to, but I just pretty much, like I said, I just program myself to this is what I want to accept. This is what I don't want to accept. Okay, good. So you're habit oriented. Some people don't get jet lag, and apparently it's because it's like 3% of the population that is not affected by time changes. Yeah. So they can easily just flip their schedule, and But other people, for example, if they have to suddenly work from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., they can't think properly, they can't speak well, they can't sleep. They're tired when they're awake, but they can't sleep. They because just changing their schedule, even a few hours. Oh, the daylight savings time. Yeah. That makes people go nuts sometimes because just that 1 hour difference makes huge differences. Sometimes people who are really sensitive to jet lag, they'll go or even drive one time difference away, and because it's now 6 o'clock when it should be 7, they get all discombobulated. Yeah, well, that's the first time hearing that.
Okay, so with this schedule, I want to compare a little bit about. You've been away from the States for a long time, right? Yeah. So your life now sounds like you would be doing the exact same thing if you were in the States.
I would say no.
Okay, how? No. Good.
Well, let's see, because before I actually came or experienced any kind of international travel or overseas travel, I was performing. And at that time, I was basically working a day job. On the weekends, we were performing because I lived in California. Right. So we either had California or Nevada to work.
Okay, right.
These were pretty much our markets. Anywhere else was a little bit too far, and it required more, accessories to get there, whether it be airfare, whether it be, a big truck to handle our equipment, because we had to have our own sound system. Right. So everywhere we went, we had to set up our sound system, sound check, rehearse whatever it was.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So Yeah. So I would say at this point, if I wanted to continue performing and doing this, what I'm doing now, it would either be, as from what I understand, a lot of the musicians are doing, they're doing corporate events.
Right.
They're performing with retro groups that have been resurrected. I have a number of friends doing that. Or I would actually be on the more of the office side of administrative side.
Right. Yeah.
So it's actually a fine line if I compare back to those times when I was there versus now. Even in Japan at this point, you can see a lot of the venues are not as active as far as customers and clientele as they used to be. When I do an event, I end up, if I'm actually marketing and I'm sending out invites to my friends and customers personally, I can get 100 people easy. But I'm sitting there and I'm messaging and I'm mailing for the next 2 or 3 months. To get that.
Yeah, bands back home have that problem too. But so are you saying that the opportunity here is better than it would have been back home? There's more competition back home, or less availability of the kind of gigs you're doing, or both?
I would say less availability. Less availability. Yes, and that availability has not changed.
Right.
Versus today.
Yeah,
I would say.
Also, there seems like there used to be a lot of places back in the day, like when my father was playing music, that paid bands. And then that slowly dwindled to okay, we don't pay, you bring people. And then it's like, you have to pay if you want to play here. And so that kind of like sort of ruined things, I guess you would, I guess you could say. But here in Japan, it's still, depending on the place, the patron sort of exists where they will pay the artist some nominal fee. And then both the artist and the bar are responsible for bringing customers. That's kind of the deal you have now at Garage Paradise?
Garage Paradise is a little different. During the COVID time, I actually had a particular situation to where it was you were paid on customers.
Okay.
Because of the venue was basically, they were in survival mode. Everybody was in survival mode.
And you kind of got to work with bars sometimes to a certain extent, right? Because, you know, you can't squeeze blood from a rock. So.
Exactly. And that changed. That changed to more of a nightly fee because basically I didn't want to continue on that path. Because that path it's basically, that path, on the other hand, is more of me taking the risk versus the venue taking the risk. And I would say the pay to play, I remember this back in the days in the 80s. In Hollywood. You would see a lot of original bands wanting to promote their shows, but they're at a venue that basically they're paying to play. So I remember that start there, and when I saw it here, like, wow.
So if people don't know, a lot of the clubs, the biggest clubs like Club Quattro or whatever in Osaka, you have to pay to play there. You get a bunch of tickets that will get you out of the hole and then some. If you're really popular, you can get your whatever $500 back or $1,000 back, and then get something on top of that that's extremely rare, especially for bands trying to make it. And like anything, like YouTube creators or whatever, it's the very start where everything is really difficult and then effortless. So there's some bands who they don't even have to try. So, but Garage Paradise used to, before COVID, they paid, and then during COVID they had to change, and then they've gone back to that.
They've been operating since the 90s, so they've went through their their heydays of having a full band every night. And there was a number of venues actually in Japan who had full bands and paid for apartments and paid for airfare and paid for visas and food every day and insurance. But those are gone.
Those were gone probably by around the 90s, basically, right? Early 90s. I know Ricky and Cosmo and those guys, they had those gigs back in the day. And when I came, they were dwindling. It was more like, instead of like nightly gigs, they would have like every Friday or Friday, Saturday. These guys are here.
I guess I know of only two that still exist at this point, which is Garage Paradise, and there's one of my friends is actually from Mississippi. He's in Kagoshima.
Okay.
And when I first arrived in Japan, I was actually in Kagoshima. That's where my first introduction to Japan
Oh, really?
happened. And this particular venue is a solo gig, and actually the owner's wife is on stage as well. So she's singing. But she's singing English songs.
Oh, wow. Is she good?
She's very good.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been doing it for a long time. So,
Yeah,
but
that doesn't necessarily mean she's good.
she has her repertoire, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Of
I'm
tunes
sure.
that
So do I.
She's respected that. And he actually is also a keyboard player. So they're now doing like a nostalgia kind of group of 60s, 70s. Bringing the band in occasionally, but having a male American singer on stage every night.
Yeah.
But they actually, the thing is that Garage Paradise used to have 5 shows per night.
Oh,
now
yeah.
there's only 3.
Yeah. Wow.
But this venue, this venue in Kagoshima, they still have 5.
Wow. Do you think it's possible for someone to come to Japan and make a living as a musician?
Well, I would say you could, and there are people who still come. Making a living full-time would be a little bit difficult at this point.
I agree.
To do it full-time. You could come and you could perform various places. You would end up moving around a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going through before I actually started traveling internationally.
I think if your goal was to live in Japan and you're a good musician, you could make it work. You get a really cheap apartment. You could hustle your butt off trying to get people. It would take you a while to get enough friends and connections and stuff though. So, but if you really tried hard, then I think you could make enough money to pay your rent and eat, possibly. But I don't think you could thrive as just come to this country and do that.
I know of 2 musicians who are Japanese who have moved to Tokyo because they felt the opportunity is better.
Right.
A few of them still come back to Kobe to perform. So it's a matter of juggling both sides of the schedule in Tokyo and in Osaka or Kobe. So as you're saying, you're doing much more. Is it really worth it in the end?
Right. That's why if your goal is to be a professional musician, you just want to support yourself by doing music. Yeah, it might be possible. Or you want to, it's like, man, Japan is just so cool. I just want to live there. And how can I live there? And I'm a musician. I have that skill set. And can I do that? Yeah, I think that the connections would take you a while. If you landed some gig somehow where you had started with a steady income and then branched out from there, might be possible. Can you be living in a really crappy apartment?
I see the trend is when you first arrive to Japan, you're a novelty.
Yeah,
you're a novelty. Everybody around like, oh, this person is new, this person is that new, and let's try and get them. Let's try and get them on our gig. And then after a while, it kind of tapers off to the point to where now you have the reality of like, okay, now I need to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And that is the setting in of your first arrival, I guess you could say. I see that.
Yeah. I played with some jazz musicians here in Kansai who moved to Tokyo, and they're professional musicians, but they are making like $20 a night, $30 a night, $20, and then the next night is off, and then they're hired by various musicians, and they're hustling to make their schedule and stuff. And so if you think about that, and they're making like, $200 or $300 a month, but living somewhere, probably adding up on a credit card, maybe mommy and daddy are subsidizing or something like that. Yeah, it's really tough. But if you're happy, it's like, oh, I'm making a living, I don't think you could thrive like that. So
I'll give you 2 examples. I know a Japanese jazz vocalist, and when she does her shows, she actually has the musicians that she hires. Right. So she's responsible for paying them.
Right.
But the venue is not responsible for paying her.
Oh.
She's only getting paid off of the amount of customers that come in.
Yeah.
So if there's no customer, she still has to pay the band.
Right.
That's one experience.
Yeah.
I did a event a few months ago with a lady who actually is doing a Michael Jackson tribute show.
Oh, okay.
In Nagoya. And this tribute show, she said, this is my 3rd time doing it. So she really hyped it up for me. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that sounds great. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. So when it came down to getting the show together, she basically explained to me the payment situation. So the payment situation went like this. all musicians, all singers, they pay 2,000 yen.
Okay.
Okay? You pay 2,000 yen.
I'm following.
And therefore, the venue, the customers that are there, they send around a tip jar for every single performance. So your payment is coming from the tips.
Right.
Okay. So this is a situation, and I says, wow, this doesn't sound like something I'm actually interested in because it just doesn't sound realistic.
Yeah.
You're taking a particular event, and that means if you had 100 people or so, that means everybody could get maybe a decent fee or so, or a tip amount. But if you're only having 20 people for the event, and you got 5 or 6 performers, somebody's going to be left out.
Yeah,
and that's what it
an
was.
Extremely generous tipper. Yeah.
So that's the way it was. It was there were about 13 performers. I was the last one. I guess you could say, not to brag, but I was the most experienced. I saw a lot of the talent, and I says, this person should not be on stage, at least not now.
Yeah.
At least not for this event. I think the organizer, to be honest with you, was just wanting to make sure that their part was taken care of. They're able to pay their rental for this particular venue.
Yeah.
And not taking any responsibility. And I see that happening a lot.
But you know what? I often think that the musicians are responsible for this situation because they're the ones who agreed to do this, play for nothing. And if nobody ever agreed to play for nothing, then the bars wouldn't be able to take advantage of musicians. Now there may be fewer live houses or whatever, but then musicians who were good and successful could set up their own events and have people come, and they set the price and everything. So, because I've had discussions with bar owners that, well, I can't afford to pay a band. Well, then don't have bands. It's like, don't offer me like $10 or $20 a night. Just don't play a CD or an MP3 or whatever, and so just don't have bands.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a difficult situation.
Well, to answer that question, I've actually been involved in multiple situations, and when a club owner says, I can't afford to pay you, they've already sealed their doom of saying, I don't believe I'm going to make enough. Definitely, you're not going to believe you're not going to make enough if you don't believe you can make enough. That's one. And I would say that a lot of performers, especially musicians, just want to play.
Yeah,
they just want to go out and share their talents. And some of them really don't care how much they make. Maybe they have a different situation, they have a day job, or they're financially stable, and they just want to play. But as you're saying, everyone getting together and having this coalition of saying, we're not going to accept this, we're not going to accept that, that would be the best way to go. But it's always divided when it comes to things like that.
I was just talking about this with my father the other day because he was a musician. And it's, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So musicians want to play because it's fun, whatever. And it may be fun in games for you, but there's somebody out there who's feeding their family with that money. And as soon as you go into a place and say, no, we don't need any money, we're just having fun, you are, one, devaluing your talent and you're devaluing music. Art should be paid for. And you're ruining it for everyone else who, like in my hometown, like my father said, he wouldn't leave home for any less than $100 a night. When I started playing, it was like $75 a night. Now it's people don't even get paid.
Right.
So what happened? There are fewer customers who go to see live bands. That was true because in the 70s, every bar with a live band was packed, and if your bar didn't have a live band, nobody was there. But so that diminished. But inflation also happened. People paid more for drinks and stuff. But yeah, it's because musicians started accepting less.
Sure.
That's part of the problem. It's not just, it's not black and white that this is the only fault. But as soon as musicians accept less for their talents and their efforts, and I told them, like basically when I play, that's free. But all the equipment that I paid for and all the practice that I put in and the rehearsal, because in Japan, people might not know, you don't just rehearse here or in the basement or whatever.
Right.
There are no basements.
Right.
You have to pay for a rehearsal space, and they're not cheap. And then so bands are actually paying to rehearse. So that's kind of like, you know, not really, but that's kind of what I'm getting paid to do. Also drag my guitar and my amp to the gig and on the train and everything like that. So yeah.
To answer your question, what I see is that I saw this video just the other day, and there was a gentleman. He was talking about if you're in the area of 50, 60 years old, you still could actually have a market. You still could release, you know, radio-worthy songs, but you can't be looking to, you know, generate any kind of teenager market. You won't be able to attract the teenagers. They're already looking at you as like you're not. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah,
it won't be my kind of music.
Right.
They're already looking at you that way. They already have a perception of what you're going to do. Unless you're out there doing some break dancing, you're doing moves that they can't do.
Right. Yeah,
if you're doing things that they can't do, they're eating it up because they're wanting to learn from you. So that's where we have to look at in the 50, 60, 70 market. We got to look at those areas of what can you do that is not being done now with the younger generation.
Yeah. Sure.
And that's how you find a market, a new market.
Or don't even entertain the younger generation, go for your current or older generation. There's more of that population anyway, you know, because there's fewer kids everywhere. I'm just going to check. This is a one-man show here, so I'm just going to make sure that this thing is still recording. Yes, it's still recording, so that's good. I got to do that once with the podcast just to make sure.
And also, I'd like to say, you know, when you're talking about the clientele for venues, people coming out, I still think there is a large market that is interested in live entertainment. Now it's a matter of how do you market to them, because you can't use the old way.
Right.
The old system doesn't work anymore. Yeah. You know, most venues actually had a clientele, a regular clientele. Those people would come out from beginning to end.
Yeah.
They would just come out and they would just sit there or dance the night away. And that was their main. That was their main goal. I'm just going to entertain myself from beginning, from opening to closing. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So how do you capture the new market? How do you keep them entertained, and how do you attract them? That's the question. That's the $1 million question everybody's trying to put together now.
Yeah. Well, these days you're also, you know, to your point, a long time ago, people were competing with TV on a Friday night at 10 o'clock.
Right.
You know, there was nothing on.
Right. So
they wanted to go out, you know.
Right.
And now you're competing with Netflix, you know, YouTube, Prime, Hulu, whatever they're doing, posting cat videos and stuff like that. You're competing with so much more. So, you need to hook them to get them out. If you can get them out once and make them feel something, I think your shows are really exciting, and you're also very talented as a singer.
Thank you.
So I think when people go see you, they're like, wow, like non-stop, he plays all great songs, he sings amazing, and, you know, and moving around and everything. And I think once you get them once, then the next time you say, I have a show, people remember, oh yeah, that was fantastic, I'll do that again.
Yeah.
But getting them first time is really difficult, right? Getting new people out.
Yeah, finding that particular market, because that market is now no longer a weekend market that comes out and you can get their information, or they're actually a regular that comes out every night. There's only a few venues that I've seen that do still have a regular clientele.
What do you think is the difference between maybe you don't know anymore because you've been here too long. What do you think is the difference between a Japanese audience and an American audience, or Canadian audience, Western audience?
Well, I'll say it this way. When I first came to Asia, I actually ended up having to pull people on the dance floor to get the party started.
Right.
I didn't have to do that in America.
Yeah.
Because people were just open and they were just out having a good time. They didn't care.
You had to get them off the stage.
Exactly. Yes. They're trying to come up and sing with you.
Right.
Yeah, but Asia is a very different animal as far as that is concerned.
A lot more tooth pulling, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. But when I continued to do that, people automatically started doing it on their own. So it's a matter of habitually showing them, hey, this is how you can have great fun with the
Right,
band.
right.
We're pulling you in. We're wanting you to actually interact with us. And that was how I got things started.
And it sounds condescending, or it sounds like some kind of stereotype, but you kind of have to teach Japanese people how to have a good time, or at least how to take that first step, right?
Right.
But once they do,
Yeah.
man, I think they enjoy it more than anybody, because
Right,
they're just
right,
it's just
right.
like a new experience for
Yeah.
them. They let loose, right?
Yeah. You see the Beatles or the Rolling Stones videos that are black and white, and everybody's sitting down and they're enjoying the show. They're just clapping. It still happens when you go to a movie. You watch a movie.
Yeah.
In America, what would we do after the movie's finished? We're heading to the exit. They're going to stay there and they're going to watch the credits.
Right.
I went with my daughter just the other day and I said, "Are you ready to go?" She says, "No, I'm still watching."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also a thing. Like, I think because I have this problem with Netflix. Like, they're showing me the next movie before the credits are up. It's like 2,000 people worked on this. Can you
Right.
give them a little chance to get their name seen on the screen before? And the other thing that really bothers me about that is if I click the next movie, the movie that they just exited me from is in my not finished watching list. It's like, you told me I was finished watching it, and now it's still on my list. Now I have to go back there and and take it off the list. Anyway, yeah, you know what I know? I noticed that Japanese audiences, and a lot of people back home know this, because there's a lot of live at the Budokan concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People don't go as crazy as they do, and a lot of Japanese will stay in their seats.
Yeah.
And they'll clap.
Yeah.
And they don't know to shout like, "We love you, you guys are great." There's none of that. But American audience, everybody's standing up.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what I had this kind of little shock. I was here for a few years, and then I went to the Philippines. Actually, I was here for many years, performing and mainly a music teacher, performing on the side. I went to the Philippines and met this guy who knew this performer who was playing on the beach, acoustic guitar and vocals. And through the conversation, I told him that I'm a musician, and he said to the guy on stage, whose name was Dodo, he says, "Hey Dodo, this guy can play and sing." And he just did this with the guitar. I was like, I guess that means I'm supposed to go now.
Right.
So I go up on stage, and I know Filipinos love the sappy love songs. So I decided to play a Bon Jovi ballad.
Okay.
You know they love Bon Jovi. So I play the intro to "I'll Be There For You."
Okay.
And then dun 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 dun. And before the words came out of my mouth, everybody in the place, "I guess this time you're really leaving." And I was like, oh, that hasn't happened to me in like 10 years.
Right.
Everybody knew that. And then when it came time for the chorus, I just like, okay, take it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The whole bar.
Yeah.
"I'll be there for you." They're all singing along. It's
Right.
like, this is amazing.
Yes.
This never happens in Japan.
Yes.
Well, one, because they don't know the lyrics. I'm
Right.
sure they would sing along if some people would sing along if they could, but also they're much more reserved, right? So,
I do get that occasionally.
yeah.
If it's a song that everybody knows, a really, really popular song. Even last night, I actually had that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That moment, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I had that moment last night. I tried to, like I said, to get the crowd to interact with my show, just to keep the show off balance and not be so structured, because I know that the attention span is just getting shorter and shorter. You have people come in, especially foreigners come in.
Do a puppet show. Hi!
They're coming in with their video. They take a few videos and get around, and then they're off to the next adventure.
You might be one of the most videoed people in all of Kobe.
Yeah, you may get that. Yeah, I don't know. I basically encourage people to take video, and it's
Why not?
promotion, and it's just like with my particular podcast or my video YouTube channel or live performance. It's just moving more into that market, and this is an unchallenged market, I think, and we're still just really trying to maneuver around it and understand it more. it's a quite a I guess you could say a deceptive animal.
Well, I think what's happening, because, smartphones started about 2012, 2013, and they've done nothing good for anyone socially, basically. Started off positively with everybody. Oh, I can stay in touch with the world now, and realize that now they're in touch with nobody.
Yeah.
And even when I ask my students about smartphones, they admit they're addicted to it and they don't like it.
Right.
Like there's 18-year-old kids like, I spend too much time on my phone. I need to spend less time, And I ask them, because in one of my writing classes, they have to write about bad habits and then what they were going to do to change it for an ideal future for themselves.
Right.
Everybody says they use their smartphone too much. And so I think what we're having now is saturation of all this stuff, and people are realizing that this sucks. And the time that I spend with my friends and I go out, that's amazing.
Right.
And a lot of times they realize, oh, I haven't touched my phone in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or, you know this, you'll get home from, having fun with friends or being at, some event or going out for dinner or whatever. And he goes, I didn't take a picture. Even you want a picture.
Right.
The times that I want the picture most,
right.
I'm so involved that I don't take the picture.
Yeah.
And I think people are realizing this, and I think we're going to have a wave of people who are going to want to experience real live things, and they're gonna
again. You mean?
Yeah. I think people are realizing the futility of scrolling.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
And you also see videos like on Instagram of people speaking about the conditions that we are experiencing with the use of the phone.
Yeah.
Many people are just looking down, so it's actually affecting their
my posture. I just straightened up there. So
this is it's beyond what we'd ever believed that it could actually be.
No. Like imagine like 20 years ago, if somebody told us what this future was like, they just described it like neutrally. This is what the future is going to be like. We'd be like, no way. That's like 1984. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
So how long you been in Japan now? I don't know.
Let's see. My first experience in Japan was 2002.
You visited here as a performer?
I was coming as a performer, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was actually in between here and Singapore. I went from America to Singapore. I was in Singapore for 7 years.
Wow.
From 95 all the way up until
Speaking of Chinese? They speak so much English, it's not necessarily right.
Well, there's Hokkien and there's Cantonese, and I think there's another form of...
and still some people speak Mandarin and even Malaysian, and then there's the Singlish.
Yes. I spoke a little of the Singlish because the la was just all in my face,
Right,
Yeah, let's go here, la. That's the Singlish.
Okay, so 2002, you're here for the first time.
Kagoshima,
right?
Yes.
And then you went back somewhere and came again?
I was in Singapore
okay.
Singapore, between Singapore and Japan.
All right.
And that was a period where you had like a 6-month visa at the time.
Right.
You had to go out of the country to renew your visa, and then you could come back in.
Yeah, I had to do that.
Yeah, the entertainment visas were only 6 months at that time.
Right. And so what made you stay in Japan?
Well, I met my wife actually around 2005.
Aha!
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah. It was more of a situation for me. It wasn't, to say I need to get a visa, I need to get married to get a visa. It was anything like that. I would never want to look at a particular partner as being the reason that I went through is because they needed a visa.
Yeah.
So I had to explain that to my wife.
And to some to some people, it's like you might think like, why isn't he even saying that? But there are a lot of douchebags out there, and I've met more than I would like to know who just wanted the visa, and I know some guys who are actually trying to get women pregnant to force a marriage so they could get a visa, with the intent that they wouldn't stay with them anyway. They would get their marriage visa or their permanent visa and leave them.
Right.
Yeah, just total douchebags. So I understand why you're trying to separate yourself from them.
You know, the thing is that they're Americans, as far as being Americans, what I've actually experienced, you're either an English teacher, you're either in the military, or you're a performer.
Right.
Those are the three categories you're already in.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to actually deviate from those.
Yeah.
So the thing is, for me, is that a lot of times people think that you're running from something. You're coming to another country and you're running from something.
Oh, interesting.
You know, you're trying to stay here because you're not wanting to go back and face the realities of what it is you're running from.
Right.
Those were never any of my particular, detriments that kept me here.
Interesting. There's a lot of locations, like for example, Alaska, places like that, where people are like they want to get away from everything, whether they're getting away from something bad or they're going to something that's just private and exclusive.
Yeah.
But I never pictured Japan as one of those things. But so you know people who like are kind of here to escape, or are you saying that they assume that?
A lot of people assume that.
Okay, I see.
I mean, that's the perception I get. I could be wrong, but I think I'm closer to right than wrong. I try to read people's face and try to read their body language, and a lot of the times you have to read between the lines.
Well, you can't be a decent performer without being able to read a crowd, right? So, okay, so can I ask, and you can totally refuse to answer this question for obvious reasons, but how much of a dating life did you have before you met your wife in Japan? When you came to Japan,
Oh, well, I mean, it's just the normal. Everybody, like I said, when you first reach Japan, you're a novelty. Everybody wants to know you. So, I actually, what I experienced when I first came to Japan, a lot of my musician friends that I met, because it was more of cosmopolitan, because you had performers who were from many states. Detroit, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Ohio, and I had never been around a lot of the East Coast performers because I was from California, so it was all West Coast performers. So when I came to Japan, it was a totally different perception, and I'm experiencing this kind of person from Ohio, this kind of person from Atlanta, this
and
person
experiencing them in Japan.
Exactly. And their musicianship and how they viewed and how they dressed and all these things were very new to me. But a lot of them ended up marrying Japanese women.
Yeah.
And some of them were in particular nightlife categories. And I noticed that a lot of their relationships were not really going well. Or not lasting.
Not sustainable.
Not sustainable, because maybe it's because you're in two different categories. Well, you're in the same category, which is entertainment. But then again, therefore, the experiences
that nightlife, a lot of trust issues sometimes with entertainers, and especially with female entertainers. A lot of guys get jealous. Female entertainers in this case would probably mean like hostesses, women who work at bars, just serving drinks and stuff like that, not doing anything nasty, whatever. But
and not trying to put anybody into a particular category of bad or good, but these are just the experiences that we experience. As being a foreigner coming here.
And so you saw that and thought like, okay, I don't want to head down that route. And so
I was very selective.
Right. And so how many years were you here before you met your wife?
Well, like I said, I came in 2002. My wife, actually, I think in 2005.
Okay, so you had a few years as a bachelor.
And we were married in 2007. So I took time to get to know her, and I wanted her to know me, and I didn't want to rush into something that she would think, or her parents would think, I need to do this now. When I first met my wife and I asked to propose to her, and then she basically says, I want to quit my job. Because that is basically more of the lifestyle in Japan. You have the man who's basically providing for the family, the wife is at home and she's a homemaker, and this is what America used to be like in the 50s.
Sure, Well, even 60s, 70s,
But this is still Japan, so I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Let's not rush any decisions.
Wait a minute, don't you want to have a career?
Exactly.
So it was very new to me, just as well as it was new to her. But I think at that time, it was like she was telling me that her friends by 24, if they're not married, they're thinking that life is downhill for them. And I was saying, wow, that's not a very good way to think.
Yeah, you know. Well, it's interesting because I went back for the first time in 2001. And when I was talking with my friends, they asked me, is it true that Japanese women are subservient? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you know that they stay home and they do all the cooking and raise the kids. And I said, well, in your home, who does all the cooking? Your dad? Your mom does. This is 2001 and we're in Canada, one of the most progressive countries in the world.
Right.
And women still do most of the housework. Does your dad vacuum? You know, like my dad did more of that stuff than any other dad in my neighborhood. And even then, my dad cooked maybe 30% of the time, 20% of the time. My dad would vacuum when I didn't do my job.
Okay.
You know, and my dad shoveled the drive. My mother never picked up a shovel. You know, and my father wouldn't let her probably. You know, and we had these roles, but like you know, I think my point is that Japan is behind us, but not that far. And I think a lot of Americans and Canadians like to think that their country is more progressive than what it really is. And things have changed since 2001 a lot.
Right.
But I'm just saying that even now, a lot of the typical traditional gender roles still exist. So I'm just saying that for people who are thinking like, oh, things are backwards in Japan. Well, take a look at your own country too, a little bit.
I think a lot of foreigners come to Japan and they experience what they used to experience in their own homeland. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, when they were younger,
Yeah. So then you see that and you reminisce of, wow, I remember this time. Mm-hmm. So that's the glamour. That's one of the glamorizations of actually wanting to, or being attracted to Japan, I guess you could say.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there are a lot of men who really like the idea of the traditional feminine role. And there are a lot of women who like the idea of the traditional masculine role too.
Right.
What other like you know, for international relationships between, well, let's just say American or North American and Japanese, what other like, you know, I don't want to say problems, issues, what other maybe challenges or maybe benefits did you find in a relationship?
You mean in Japan?
Yeah. Like dating Japanese women and maybe when getting into more serious relationships too, like. Yeah, well...
I would say that culturally, we're very different.
Right,
culturally, very, very different.
Okay.
I was raised as a Christian in my home, my home.
Right.
My wife was raised as Catholic in her home.
Oh, really?
Yes,
in Japan?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In Japan.
But about 3 to 5% of Japanese are Catholic? Something like that?
Well, my wife's mother is Filipino. Her dad is Japanese.
That's why, okay.
Yeah. So I believe her mom was raised as Catholic, and therefore that is why my daughter, not my daughter, but my wife, experienced the Catholic religion.
Right. And also they wouldn't have been that much against her dating or marrying a foreigner because they did it themselves.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay, good. Get nitty gritty here.
My father-in-law and mother-in-law probably would not want to hear this conversation. But I'll make a long story short.
Yeah.
We went through our issues as just as well as any other foreigner, I guess, would go through their issues with being accepted into a Japanese family.
Well, interesting. Yeah, you wouldn't expect that, but well, it's one thing. Like it's people. I said this in an earlier podcast, episode 1 with Sean. You can generalize about people, and generalizations are generally true, but they're not specifically true.
Right.
So just because you would imagine most mixed couples would be totally fine with a mixed, I don't know if that's even the proper term these days, mixed relationship, that doesn't mean this mixed couple is. So, you have to deal with everybody on an individual basis. You can't just generalize. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always do as I say and not as I do, in life.
Yeah.
I would say that we never get to the point to where we are acceptable to things that we don't see that are normalized in our life. If it's not something that is normal and it's something that we feel that is a risk or And in some sects, it's not worth accepting.
Yeah.
You can't accept it. You don't want to accept it.
Yeah.
There's something that is going to force you to accept it.
Right.
And when you accept it, you find out, wow, it wasn't so bad, was it?
No, yeah. People
It's
just have
actually
blocks,
good.
all kinds of blocks.
Yeah, we have these mental blocks that keep us from accepting or just even trying. Yeah.
Okay, so what other interesting dynamics are there between? I mean, I'm asking one person in
Sure.
their experience.
Sure.
Between, in your opinion, between, let's just say, foreigners and Japanese. Interesting dynamics in relationships, like challenges, or you said one of them was being accepted. What else? Oh, you said there's a big difference in culture.
Yes.
You said although you were raised Christian and she was raised Christian, I think you were going
Catholic.
Catholic.
Catholic, yes.
You were going to say that there's still differences, even though you're both raised Catholic.
Yes, I think there's still differences. When I started traveling around the world, I kind of, my Christian values, or not saying my Christian values, but my Christian beliefs changed a lot.
Sure.
Because now I'm experiencing friends who are Muslim. I'm experiencing friends who are Buddhist. And everybody believes that their particular religion or their upbringing is, we are who we are, and we are strong, and this is the only way we're going to go, and it's fine who you are and what you believe and how you were raised, but this is us.
Another thing you realize by traveling is you realize, if nothing else, that if you were born in that place, you would follow whatever religion they followed. So
Yes, you'd be the same.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of respecting Christian, respecting Catholic, respecting Buddhism, respecting Islamic, respecting every religion, and realizing that every religion leads to one particular higher source.
Sure. Well, how about communication style between either specific to your relationships with in dating, or just in general in life? Could even be business. What do you think is different between the North American or American and Japanese communication style?
I would say that we as Americans, we normally say what we feel or what we think. And I would say that I've experienced a lot of, on the other side, where it's not mentioned, where the true values, or not true values, but the true feelings are not mentioned.
Right.
They're not put on the table. Maybe it is actually a means of being too shy or not understanding. I get that a lot. We don't want to have a miscommunication in language.
And why? What's with Japanese avoiding communication in order to not have a misunderstanding?
Well, I would say language. We've always been divided by language. Understanding language.
Right.
Our understanding of one word.
Okay, so you're saying on a linguistic level, some people shut down because they're afraid that, like, okay, my English is not good enough right now to communicate with this guy, and so let's just leave it, because otherwise something's going to be miscommunicated. You're talking about something like that?
You could say that, or it could be a crutch to just say, I really don't want to do business with you. I don't want to be friends with you, but I don't really know how to say it to you.
It's easy to say no. You're looking for an easy way out.
Right.
Okay,
You could look at it that way too as well. I've actually experienced that too as well. So there are many innuendos to that particular setting. But like I said, I always think that language is going to be that barrier to separate Americans and Japanese.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's always going to be the barrier, I believe.
Yeah, on a relationship level, I talked about that in podcast number 3 with Mark.
Oh, okay.
That these, people, guys who come to Japan and think they're going to be popular with girls right away. It's like, do you understand anything about women? Like, you need to be able to communicate.
Right.
And unless their English is rocking, your Japanese is, you're not going to be able to communicate. And so I think the ability to communicate in Japan really makes a world of difference. Because when you, like you said, it's easy to dismiss somebody. It's like, oh, well, we don't want to hire a foreigner because, we're afraid of the communication problems. And when the foreigner says in perfect Japanese, no, there's no communication problems. I've been in this country for 20 years and I speak Japanese well enough. And, then they go, oh, we can't use that excuse anymore.
Exactly. We got to find a new one.
Right. And so, and the same thing happens with, if you meet, let's say you meet a girl and you say like, hi, you speak English? And they say like, oh no, I don't speak English. And you say, well, what's your name? You speak a little English, right? Yeah, I speak English. And they say, oh, tell me your number. Or there's no numbers now. It's like, tell me your line or whatever. Say, oh, but I don't speak English. It's like, well, I speak, and then you just start into your Japanese. Well, I speak Japanese. Now is your excuse,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can communicate, I mean, in that situation, you'd probably just want to go into Japanese right away and put people at ease, which is a great. Sorry to run over your sentence, but which is a great tip, by the way. If you can speak a little Japanese, like if you can learn some Japanese before you come here as a tourist, and get in a cab and say konnichiwa, whatever hotel. Made onegaishimasu, just these little things.
Yes.
The taxi driver will just be, you go to Starbucks, konnichiwa, latte, toru kudasai.
Yes.
Just these little basic, the person behind the counter is like, oh, good, they speak English. I don't have to do this in English. You put everybody at ease, right?
Yes. Because they're already timid when they first have this interaction.
Right. They just see a foreign face and go, I can't speak English. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a matter of picking up just the basics. But what I wanted to say is that, there are people who, I won't say that they're genuine. I just say that they're just natural. I do still have friends that I communicate with on a regular basis, and they don't speak any English at all.
Right, yeah.
We actually use like Google Translate, and we talk. Mm-hmm. When we have perfect conversations. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't understand exactly what I'm saying, or I don't understand exactly what they're saying, but we just overlook that because it's not a matter of we are trying to test or we're trying to judge each other.
Right.
We're just having a genuine conversation and just having a friendship.
Right.
So I do have some like that too as well.
So how much Japanese studying have you done?
I really have not done a lot of Japanese studying because normally when I'm conversing, like at a venue or something like that, a lot of Japanese want to speak in English.
Right.
They want to learn English. But then when I am actually speaking with Japanese people who don't know any Japanese, any English, I think I have enough English in my artillery.
Because you got to go around the tables and say thank you for coming and stuff like that,
right.
and you can say that in English. But if they say like, oh, like where are you from and stuff like that, you have to kind of be able to have the small talk at least, right?
Right. So if you have just the minimum basics of Japanese, just the minimum, being able to konnichiwa or omedetou gozaimasu, yoroshiku onegaishimasu. If you have a lot of the basics, that is just an excitement for them.
Yeah.
To say you actually have taken some time to learn some.
Yeah. It goes a long way. No matter where you're traveling, just learn a few things. Learn how to count. Yeah. What do you think are the differences between living in Japan and living in the States? I know it's been a long time, so we have a big time gap there. But it's not like you're totally it's not like you don't have any idea what goes on in the United States anymore. So, but what do you think is the difference between living in Japan and living abroad? And do you like it? What are the positives? What are the negatives of living here?
I would say what I experience from talking to a lot of people, because I do ask. I haven't been back to America since 2019 due to this COVID situation that we ran through and having family in Japan. And I didn't want to get stuck on the other side and not be able to come back. And that was something that was on my list.
That was happening. People would leave and not be able to come back.
Yeah.
People with families and jobs.
Exactly. They didn't care, basically. So I see that that was something that basically stopped me from venturing out. And I just said, okay, let's wait till all of this is over with, and then we'll we'll venture out. But when I talk to a lot of foreigners who come from America and they say, well, how long you been in Japan and and you're speaking with them and they say, I just met this couple last week from Oklahoma.
Okay, cool.
And they're living in Okinawa. Cool. And they said, we really love it here in Japan. We're able to leave our keys in the car. We leave our front door open. My wife is able to walk the streets at night when I'm out of on a business trip. Mm-hmm. These things are basically things that a lot of the Americans don't experience anymore.
Yeah.
They have a gun under the bed. They have a gun in their kitchen drawer and at the front door. And I walk around and I see a restaurant that is closed, mm-hmm. but all of their goods for that particular day are sitting out by the door.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's lettuce, whether it's meats or mm-hmm. Eggs, they're just sitting out by the door. You go down the hallway of your complex where you live, your apartment, and you see all these packages or these water that's just left by the door and nobody touches it.
Yeah.
I was on the beach the other day where I live, mm-hmm. and there was a shirt, shorts, and tennis shoes. And it stayed there for maybe 3 or 4 days. Nobody touched it. So,
wow, that's my experience of growing up in Canada. Basically, keys in the car. We didn't lock our front door. Sometimes we left to go, to Dairy Queen, get some ice cream or whatever. How about for you growing up? Where are you from?
I'm originally from Bakersfield, California.
Bakersfield, okay.
Yes.
So Bakersfield is out of the way. It's like a nice, like kind of small town
yes.
community, right?
Yes.
Is that your experience growing up? Door unlocked and stuff like that. Even though in the States, they always say, "Oh, Canada is much safer," but small town America is not different than small town Canada.
Yeah, at that time it was very safe. I didn't have a problem until I got older in my teens and in my 20s. And I'll give you an experience when I was actually at a venue in, say, Fresno, California. And I was inside the venue and the band was performing. And I had a small Toyota truck. And I came out one night to get something out of my truck. I come out and my truck is actually in the middle of the parking area. And someone had tried to steal my truck.
Wow.
But I guess at that time they were trying to pull the ignition out. And they have this, I guess you have this little screw that they screw into the ignition and then they pull it out.
Right.
Well, when I went out to my truck, the door was open. I looked inside and there was a small screw that was just jammed inside my ignition. Right. Probably meaning that it broke off. And before they were to be exposed, they ran off.
Wow.
I guess I was lucky at that time. Because if they had more time and everything went as planned, I would have come out to not having a vehicle. Or
you would have come out and had been confronted or had to confront somebody, which could have been ended up worse. You might not be here.
Yeah.
So, so that's like a sort of coming of age or whatever. Sort of like
that like, was an eye-opener.
The jig is up.
Yeah.
Things aren't the way they used to be.
Yeah. That was an eye-opener.
Yeah, I can't say about Canada now, but even when I was in university in Canada, it was still, pretty safe. But I'm from a really small town, and I when I went back, one of the first times I went back, and I was in Toronto, I had one of those man bags with my cell phone and stuff like that, and so I went to a Starbucks and I put it on the table and I went to go order, and I was like, what? Wait, no, I can't do that here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I give it a 90% chance that it would still be at the table after my order.
You mean at that time?
Yeah, at that time. Okay. We're talking like 2001, 2004 in Canada, in Toronto. But probably now I would not do that. I wouldn't trust it there. Because some people are just walking around waiting for somebody to slip up and then grab a cell phone. Sometimes people grab cell phones right out of their hands and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely safety and... even now in Japan, you finish a night with friends or whatever, everybody goes their separate ways. We don't worry about the women getting home safely. We don't say, like, if I lived in Canada or the States, I would say, like, I'll walk you home, I'll walk you to the station, whatever.
Right.
Here, it's like, okay, bye, see you later. I don't even worry about women's safety
it's
here.
Not a thought. It's not a thought.
which in a way is priceless.
Right.
Because when you have a significant other who is female,
Yeah.
and you worry about them,
Yeah.
you know, if I were in Canada and the States, or in Europe, yeah, I would be constantly worried that from her workplace to wherever she's going, and from home to wherever she's going, that something's going to happen. And not having that stress is kind of priceless. You know.
I talk to some of my customers, and they tell me, yeah, my kids are out running around, the area, and when we finish, we'll meet up and we'll all go home together.
Yeah.
So this is the life that they are still able to live.
Yeah.
When I talk to my family members in America, this is not the lifestyle that they live anymore.
No, apparently, if you let your kid go to the bus stop alone, if somebody calls parent services or child welfare services, you could be arrested for child abuse.
Yeah. I don't even let my children go to the restroom alone anymore.
Oh, back there, back home.
Anywhere.
Oh.
Anywhere.
Even in Japan?
Yeah.
Oh, in Japan too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I better be safe than sorry.
It's just a matter of just taking precaution and learning how to take precaution. I'm always sending my daughter self-defense videos that I find. And they're probably thinking, why is Dad sending me this stuff? I said, well, hopefully you'll never have to use it.
Yeah, no, definitely. If I had a daughter, there's absolutely no way in hell that she wouldn't be good at self-defense. Be jiu-jitsu, enroll her in jiu-jitsu when she's 3 years old. There's no way. Because you never know. And hey, hopefully you don't have to use it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the same thing with everybody. Even if you're a man and you learn self-defense, I mean, it should be considered self-defense.
Exactly.
It's like if you're running away and somebody catches up to you, that's when you should be using this, so
hopefully it never gets to that point. Therefore, like I said, it's always better to be prepared than to be caught off guard.
I definitely feel like much less prepared, much less secure, because I've never done self-defense classes except kendo. If I have a stick in my hand, I'm not afraid of anybody. Watch the fuck out. but if I don't have a stick, man, I'm useless. And I can't run that fast either. So I'm just totally useless. But anyway,
I think if you were confronted, those experiences will come back, and you will know exactly what you need to do.
Well,
and hopefully you'll have the time to be able to do it, because everything happens in a split second like that. So that's why, like I said, I always practice with my children. I says, okay, Mom, I'll go with my son, and I'll just make sure that they understand. Or go with your brother, or go with your sister. There's two of them there. That someone can actually be able to act if anything is out of the ordinary.
Right.
In America, and I'm not knocking America, I'm not knocking Japan, I'm not knocking anywhere. When we have situations to where we have a male toilet and we have a female toilet, and now the males can go into the female toilet, or the females can go into the male's toilet. Whenever you have these kind of different transactions, you're definitely going to actually invite problems. And that's anywhere in the world.
Because among the people who we want to have the most sympathy for, there are also going to be people who are going to take advantage of the situation.
Exactly.
Definitely. Okay, so bringing it back to the safety, what are the things you personally like about living in Japan?
I would say the food.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to ask about that, because some people never really acclimate to the food. But okay, so what are your favorites? What are your go-tos?
Well, I would say when I first came to Japan, because I experienced Japanese food for the first time when I was in Guam.
Okay.
And I couldn't read the menu, but the menu was at the Nikko Hotel. It was actually in Japanese. I couldn't read the menu, so I could only just see the pictures. So I ordered this. It was like a soup.
Okay.
And it had a raw egg inside.
Right.
And I'd never eaten raw eggs before. So it was like an eye-opener.
It's a shock.
Yeah.
Because our whole life we're told you're going to get sick if you eat a raw egg, right?
Exactly.
Despite what Rocky did.
Exactly. So I'm here, and I'm actually trying to enjoy this dish, and it was a challenge. It was a challenge, because it's the first time you're experiencing this. No, not only the first time you experience it, it's the first time you're seeing it.
Right, yeah.
You'd never, I don't know of a time that I ate a raw egg in my youth.
Yeah, no, never.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the closest I got is I like my egg sunny side up, so it's a little piggly, right?
Exactly.
And my mom used to like, how could you eat raw egg? It's not raw. It's almost cooked. Yeah.
Like it's like a medium well or
rare.
rare steak. Anyway, so a lot of the food that I consume, natto.
Oh, you like natto?
Yes,
okay,
natto.
so natto for everybody is fermented soybeans. And when you come to Japan, you should give it a try. Everybody should try it at least once. So, did you try it did you like it the first time you tried it?
The first time I tried it, it was a challenge.
Okay.
Because of the taste.
Right.
But I was in Singapore and I actually tried durian. I don't know if you know what durian is.
Yeah, I tried durian too when I was in Malaysia,
And the smell of durian. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's one of the most popular fruits in...
And did you like it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really? I loved it. Because the smell was horrible, but as soon as I put it in my mouth, I was like, okay, I get it now. I get why people like it. I get why people go through the smell. Yeah.
If you can get past the smell, you'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing with natto.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it kind of smells bad, right?
Yeah. It's fermented beans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me with natto, and not only that, it's gooey, right?
Right.
You stir it around, and it's really gooey, so you have to deal with that if you're not used to gooey food.
Exactly.
Yeah, my first experience with natto is I was at Yoshinoya. A lot of people will know Yoshinoya back home, like the beef bowl place, and they have a like a natto set.
Right.
And basically the idea is you eat your beef bowl, and then afterwards you put the natto on the rice, and you eat the rice there.
Yes.
So I tried it, and I asked the guy, because I didn't know. I said, hey, how do people usually eat this? And he said, well, everybody's different. I said, okay, well, how do you eat it? He said, well, I put soy sauce in it and a little bit of mustard, and then I mix it around, and then I pour it on the rice. So that's what I did. And when I ate it, I thought to myself, okay, this is like not bad, but my brain was telling me it's not food. It's kind of like you could eat paper.
Oh, okay.
Or styrofoam. You could take a piece of styrofoam and eat it.
Yeah.
But your brain would tell you, yeah, dude, that's not food, but it's not bad. Paper doesn't taste bad. I ate it when I was a kid, so I know.
Okay.
Or chalk. Chalk doesn't taste bad, but, it's not kind of food to you.
Not healthy.
Yeah. Oh, it's not that it wasn't healthy. It's just that my brain was telling me, yeah, this isn't food, I think. So maybe stop eating this. But I didn't feel it was bad. But I have a feeling that, like a lot of these things that are fermented or pickled, like when I was a kid, I hated olives. Now I could finish a bucket of olives in one sitting. When I was a kid, I hated liver. I love liver now. So these really strong tasting and sometimes bitter things and pickled, you can't just try it once and make up your mind on it. You gotta give it some try. So how many times do you think you ate natto before you were like, okay, I'm hooked now?
Well, I noticed the benefits of natto. I researched and I heard that natto was very good for your brain activity. Natto was something that they were basically saying that would also hinder Alzheimer's.
Right, okay.
Dementia. I'm very health conscious when it comes to foods that are preventive medicines.
Right.
Or just preventive of different substances entering into your body. My screenshot from my phone is blueberries. So it reminds me, that basically blueberries, pineapples, or these are fruits that fight inflammation, and inflammation is what we basically need to
avoid for weight loss, for joints health, for Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So the reason why natto is a superfood, as you know, what I'm sharing is that first of all, beans have a lot of protein, and they're high in fiber, so they provide a lot of food for your good gut bacteria, and the gut bacteria has been ever more proven to be extremely. It's like almost everything related to health is now being discovered that it's like it's in your gut. Even your brain health and your brain function is ruled by gut health. So beans are high in protein and fermented things. Anything that's fermented, like kimchi, and you could say that pickled things are fermented. Right now in my rice cooker, I have brown rice that we leave in there for a week.
Oh, wow.
And if you just put a little bit of salt in it, it actually starts fermenting.
Ah.
And the longer you leave it, the more the nutrients develop, and it becomes kind of fermented. But it doesn't taste vinegary or anything like that. It has like a deeper taste. The rice actually gets darker. And then if you don't eat it during that week, you can take it out and freeze it. And then rice is really good, just microwaved. So yeah, that kind of has the same sort of benefit. Yeah, and so anything that's fermented or pickled or whatever is really good for your gut.
Right.
And so yeah, you're doing the right thing by natto. Yeah. So I need to give it. Sorry, I have to keep going on. It's like I need to give it another try because I want to like natto. And it's really healthy. And the first time I had it, I didn't not like it. So that probably means like if I have a couple more tries, probably I'll start liking it.
Yeah, you know what I did? I basically just forgot about the taste, forgot about the smell, and I just said, this is good for me. So I just started eating it. Yeah. And I just started eating on a regular basis, and then therefore everything else just went away.
Yeah, well, my buddy Mark says everybody should be forced to eat something they don't like today. If you don't like broccoli, tough. Broccoli's good for you. Yeah. Eat a piece of broccoli, you know. Yeah.
I can be a witness to that. I'm still trying to get my son to eat more vegetables.
Yeah.
He's like, any vegetables, he's a no-no on those.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I heard that for kids, one good thing is like frying the vegetables. If you fry it in olive oil and like season it with salt and stuff like that, then all of a sudden it gets more of this can't say umami taste, but it develops more flavors, and they get a little bit more crisp on the outside. Other than like steamed, I can't imagine a kid liking steamed vegetables or boiled, vegetables.
Yeah.
But apparently, I saw this somewhere on a cooking show. If you want your kids to eat vegetables, like stir fry it in some hot oil, and they'll like. I don't know.
Takes away the natural taste, I guess you could say.
Maybe some of the bitterness, add some oil to it also, and enough salt, and then it starts to be good. Also, I think if you fry at high temperatures, it kind of gets to be like Chinese food. In Singapore, they're pros on that, right? There's stir-fried stuff. You get it. It's like, how is this carrot so sweet? It's like somebody put sugar in it. It's like insane. But they cook it really high. So it doesn't cook enough to burn away the sugars, but it's hot enough to eat now. And so, so maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm still working on it. Still working on it.
And how about, so what other foods are your go-to foods?
Let's see. I like noodles as well.
Oh, okay.
I like soba noodles. Yeah. I like,
soba noodles meaning the brown was the buckwheat noodles.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
because that'll keep the inflammation down. Those are also higher in protein.
Yes, yes. My daughter really loves curry, so I make a lot of curry for her. She could eat curry every day.
Yeah, well, actually, so could I.
She said, I like McDonald's. I know McDonald's is not healthy for me, but it tastes really good.
Sure, Yeah, of course it does, because it's been scientifically engineered to biohack every evolutionary, taste bud that we've developed. So, of course.
And it has to continue to improve, because that taste, has to continue to evolve.
Yeah, humans have no chance against McDonald's. There's no way. Most, like 99% of people who have McDonald's like it, because it's engineered to be like that. Of course, some lucky people just can't stand it, so that's right. How often do you eat at McDonald's? Well, your kids, so you eat more than you probably like to, but how often do you eat with kids?
My kids don't actually eat a lot, but, I
like once a month?
No, less than that. Yeah, less than that.
Except for, because I personally find nothing wrong with the breakfast sandwich. A sausage egg McMuffin is like English muffin, which, it has a lot of flour, and so there's inflammation there. A fatty sausage patty, but it looks like sausage to me, and that looks like an egg.
Yeah.
Oh, the cheese. I usually tell them to hold the cheese, because that cheese is like a monster creation of a bunch of different chemicals. It doesn't actually contain any milk, probably, in it. But so I will eat morning, especially when I'm working. Now I'm on holidays, but when I'm working, maybe once, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, I'll have a breakfast. But a hamburger, I think I'm down to about maybe twice a year now. I'll just think, oh man, I want a hamburger. And if Burger King is not nearby, so I like Burger King because
Okay.
you can just ask them, give me 3 patties. No, give me 4 patties, and give me like extra mustard, and I want pickles on the side. You can just whatever you want, they'll do it for you, and it seems like a real burger. Like if I made a burger here at home, it would probably resemble a Burger King burger, but nobody can make a McDonald's burger at home. It's impossible. It's
Right.
But yeah, so maybe once or twice a year I'll go to McDonald's for burger.
Yeah, I would. Well, my kids as they got older, or as they're getting older, they experience McDonald's a little less.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, they're just into and I cook a lot myself. Because my wife actually she's busy doing her various things that she does on a daily basis. So I try to help out as much as I can.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to look for different American dishes.
Yeah.
Healthy dishes that I could cook for.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So what about restaurants? Japanese restaurants that are your favorites?
Japanese restaurants. Let's see. I went to a noodle restaurant. I can't remember the name, but it was in Eon Mall. My daughter actually treated all of us to dinner, and it was just various noodles.
Is it called Kamakura?
I can't remember the name.
Red sign. Red letters. Okay. I won't.
I can't say that it. I can't say yes or can't say no.
You can't go wrong with noodles in this country, right? They're all done well.
Yeah, I used to eat a lot of rice when I first arrived in Japan, but now I just eat less rice because I just don't feel that it's actually. I feel that there's a lot of skin conditions in Japan, and nobody knows where it's coming from. So I would think that it's maybe from mold, rice mold.
Oh yeah, you could be right. I think they wash it a lot. I actually, I would think it's part of our diet making it into Japan. I think it's more like all the bread and donuts and stuff like that. You've seen Japanese line up at Mr. Donuts, right?
Right.
I think it's all that stuff, that flour stuff. I think white rice to an extent, of course, will increase inflammation. Brown rice less, brown noodles less, brown potatoes less. But I think it might be, neither of us are scientists, but I think it might be our Western diet creeping in that's causing the extra skin conditions, weight gain, stuff like that.
It's possible.
What do you think of that?
I would say so too, because I live near Costco, and I see the amount of groceries that people are it's just ballooning.
Every single cart in Japan in Costco has the huge 48 dinner roll bag.
Yeah.
The little dinner rolls of they have a bag of 40. Every time I go with a friend, I'm like, look, everybody has the 48 dinner roll bag of,
It could be me too. It could be the Me Too phase. Because we went through, when Costco first came out, we went through the phase of dinner rolls. Every time we'd get dinner rolls. But now, nobody really eats dinner rolls. I still have, because I would actually because I would freeze them. I would take just a small portion, because if you with the heat, if you keep the full bag out, they will mold very fast.
For sure, everyone's freezing them.
Yeah. So I still have in my freezer now. So I says, okay, well, maybe that phase is already passed, and
it could be the cost performance thing, as they say in Japanese, the cost performance, meaning the what you get for the price you pay. So they might go 48 dinner rolls. Like, I don't have to buy bread for a month if I just get this thing, and it costs what, $6? So maybe it's just so incredible a deal that they can't pass it up. Could be that.
Me personally, I stopped eating as much bread. I don't eat as much bread. I don't eat as much bread. I don't eat as much rice. So for me, it's not a situation that I need to have it or need to actually buy it. But if my kids like it, my wife likes it, I'll get it for them.
Okay. So noodles, dishes. How about you eat meat, right?
Occasionally, yes.
Oh, just occasionally.
I really love fish. So that's my go-to as far as meat is concerned.
So would you call yourself a pescatarian, or you eat chicken and beef sometimes? Or?
I do eat chicken and beef sometimes too as well.
Pork,
I basically regulate what I eat on a daily basis. I have more eggs. I may have a wheat oatmeal. Basically a lot of fruit.
Okay.
A lot of vegetables.
I see.
That's more of my diet.
Because normally when I would ask it, because you gave me kind of perplexing answers to like what you eat, and I thought like this guy hasn't said yakitori or yakiniku, Korean barbecue. He hasn't said teppanyaki, which is, when they cook the steak in front of you, shabu shabu. So like, what's wrong with this guy? And then now I understand you're more of trying to be health conscious, stay away from the meats and stuff like that. But occasionally when you do go, what is it? Because other people are pulling you and you're like, okay, everyone's going for yakitori. I'm not gonna tell them, no, I'm not eating that. Let's go to a noodle shop instead. Or you get a craving and just go, okay, that's it. I need some steak.
I normally don't get a craving like that, but when I have friends who come from America and they want to try Kobe beef, I'll take them out to a Kobe beef restaurant, and I will dine as well with them. Otherwise, when I first came to Japan, especially when I first came to Kobe, I was eating Kobe beef a lot.
Oh yeah, okay.
When I first came to Japan, I was eating yakiniku a lot because that was a new dish that is normally not served in America.
Right.
It's, I believe it's Korean. Am I correct?
Korean barbecue, yeah.
Yeah, Korean barbecue.
Which a lot of Japanese people don't really know.
Yeah. So every time someone wants to take you out, like, let's go to yakiniku. So that was the experience. Yakiniku was the go-to. But sushi as well. I like sushi. Yeah, sashimi, sushi.
When you came to Japan, did you like... Oh, you said you had sushi for the first time when you were in Guam?
No, I had sushi for the first time when I was in Singapore.
In Singapore, okay.
Yes.
And so was it strange for you having raw fish, or you just take to it right away? Or
Yes, it was very strange for me having raw fish.
Was it kind of like you took the bite and went, oh, this is good? Or it was kind of like...
It had to grow on me.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first went to Singapore as well, the smell of the food was kind of turned off because it really wasn't a good smell.
Right.
And I guess that's anywhere you travel to another country, you're going to actually first incur the smells of the spices or the foods that are actually identifiable to the country. You pass through the airport in Vietnam and you're smelling the spices, but there's no food around. It's just I think of the same thing in South Korea because it's in the people's skin.
Yeah.
It's coming out of their pores.
Right.
Because they consume it so much.
Yeah.
And this is a situation to where in America you never experience this.
Right. Yeah.
The hamburgers, the pizzas, the pastas, the chickens, the catfish, or you don't actually have anything outside of that really.
Right. Yeah.
The soul food, the Mexican food, burritos and things like that. You don't have anything outside of all of that as what you would find in Japan. And finding those dishes like burritos or soul food in Japan is very, very rare.
Right. Yeah.
Very, very rare.
Have you ever been told that you smell? Like when you first came to Japan, did anyone ever tell you, did you smell?
No, I never got that.
I heard mostly from Thai people because after I came here, I went to Thailand and I heard that Thai people think that Westerners smell like wet dog.
Wet dog.
Yeah. And I didn't understand because I couldn't smell myself and I wasn't about to go around smelling foreigners in Japan. But one time I was out drinking. And I'd been in Japan for a few years at that time. And, some guy, I think he was from New Zealand, was there. And he just came. And while I was like, something smells like wet dog. And then I kind of made like sort of a, just tried to lean into him and get a whiff without being too inconspicuous. And I was like, it's true. It's not exactly like a wet dog, but it was like, it's true. New foreigners, a smell. And I think it's after you, like you said, I think it's because we eat so much meat back home, and I don't know what else it is, but when we come to a place like Japan where they don't eat that much meat, they're like the omnivores or the vegetarians, and we're like the carnivores, and they can like naturally just smell us coming almost, downwind if they're downwind. So
I would probably say also when you arrive in Asia, as far as the humidity is concerned, because I know in California it's a dry heat, it's not humidity, so you end up sweating more.
Nice.
So I guess you could say what is coming out of your pores.
Right, yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, it's probably that.
What you're speaking
so
of.
Nobody ever told me that I smelled, but I probably did. And then when I smelled another foreigner, I thought that's maybe the way I smelled when I first came here.
Yeah.
But then after acclimatizing and eating more fish, less beef, more chicken, less pork, and even more rice and noodles and stuff like that. And I think maybe, you change. It's funny, when I first came here, I didn't sweat. My pores weren't open. I was in Canada. The hottest it ever got in the day was like 32 degrees, like maybe 32 or 33 is the hottest temperature I ever felt in my life.
I see.
And humid. We have a lot of lakes around where I live, so humid, but not like here humid. Anyway, when I came here, it was so hot, it was unbelievable. But I only sweat like here and the armpits, and just a little bit in the back. And I'd be walking, it was like 35 degrees or 36 degrees, and I was really hot, but I was like, why am I not sweating much? I had no idea. But my second summer,
That's when it hit you.
Every pore was opened. I would been acclimatized,
right.
And then it was the opposite problem. I was sweating too much. Like I would walk outside and my elbows would be sweating everywhere. It's just wet, and it's just everything's my legs. Every pore was open.
Right. Yeah.
And I had a friend back in Canada. He used to take saunas all the time, and he was a drummer. Every time we started playing, first song, just dripping sweat.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's
why
me.
do you sweat so easily? He's like, because my pores are open. Because I'm healthy. Because I'm healthy. I go to the sauna. I open my pores to let all the toxins out of my body. And he said, if you're not sweating, then something wrong with you. And I was like, yeah, but I was glad, because I didn't want to be a wet mess like that every time I played music.
Right.
Well, I had the average, sweat. So, but now, both of us.
Yeah.
As soon as we walk outside, just
the humidity. Yes.
Yeah.
The very high humidity.
I'm like a glass of water. It's just condensation everywhere.
The thing is for me, when I'm performing, my hands always become cold. Always become cold. Since I started performing, my hands have always become cold. People will come and shake my hand afterwards. Simitai.
Yeah.
Bikuri. I said, one heart.
Yeah.
I have no idea why my hands become cold, but they do. Now my hands are warm.
Probably because everything's going towards your core,
I thought the same thing, and that's basically how I explain it to people.
Because, like if I were to have a gig playing bass or playing guitar all night or whatever, I'm jumping around, whatever. I come back home and I'm like okay, I did something tonight. It's like a little bit of exercise. It's like 2 hours on stage. It's not nothing.
Right.
But if I sit down in a chair with an acoustic guitar and sing 2 sets, 2 45-minute sets, I'm tired afterwards. Singing comes right from inside the core of your body, and I don't sing as effortlessly as you do, but it's everything from inside. When I come back home, I'm tired. It's like, and I'm not dancing around. I'm just sitting on a chair playing acoustic guitar, and I'm playing "Stand by Me." Of course, I sing some songs that are up there too. But I'm exhausted. So maybe that's why everything's inside, and so your blood is rushing to your core. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, occasionally I will experience to where I would just fall right to sleep afterwards. Occasionally.
Yeah.
I never really have a problem sleeping. I can just fall asleep just like that.
Yeah, me too.
I just, I guess you could say when I was younger, I had spells to where it was very hard for me to sleep. But I never reverted to any kind of medications or anything like that, because that was something that I wanted to actually try and stay away from.
Yeah, no shit.
Even today, I don't take any kind of medications at all. I just didn't want to develop those kind of habits, even though you're a night owl, as they call you. You're a night owl, and you're you're out and you're performing and you're enjoying yourself, and afterwards it sometimes is very difficult for a lot of people to get to sleep. But for me, I never have that problem anymore.
Yeah. No, you don't. You definitely don't want to aid your sleep, because it just gets worse and worse and worse. Because what puts you to sleep the first 3 times no longer works. Yeah. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So what else you got going on? You're you're at Garage Paradise. I know that.
Yes.
You were in a movie.
Yes.
That I still haven't seen yet.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, it hasn't because I had that one chance to go see it in Kobe, and I failed to do that. And then since it's on. Is it on Hulu?
No.
Or is it is it streaming?
No, it's actually on YouTube at this point. Streaming.
It's just on YouTube.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah.
There's no excuse for me not to watch it now.
Yeah,
I thought it streamed, didn't it? Because it streamed on something at the beginning, didn't it?
We actually had a preview of the movie at a venue in Kobe.
Okay.
The project that I was working on was with a university student from Kobe University.
Okay.
He had this idea of creating this particular musical. It's like a musical. It was more of a gospel musical.
Okay.
So the storyline is me performing, me singing, and me being a mentor to a biracial Japanese Italian student in school who is facing particular form of racism.
Right. Okay.
That he is going through in school. His dad was a musician, and he didn't get a chance to see his son grow up. He passed away, and I'm not trying to give the storyline away, but I hope that everyone gets a chance to see it. But this particular movie, when I normally meet people, I always try to introduce a possibility of us working together on something.
Yeah.
And when I met him, he was telling me he was a university student at Kobe University, and he was working on film.
What's the name of the movie?
SOULMAN.
SOULMAN,
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. And when he was finishing up his studies for his last year, final year, he had one big project that he was working on, as well as all the other students were working on one project. And he wrote the script for this particular movie, which is 47 minutes long, which would also qualify as a full-length movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And didn't it win an award?
Yes, we won a Tama Award in Tokyo.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. For me, I wanted to expose it on a worldwide scale.
Sure.
But I think the director, on his part, he was young, 20-year-old. He was thinking beyond that. This is a project. I'm finished with that. Now I want to move on to other things. But for me, it was like, this is. I put my heart and soul into it. You put your heart and soul into it, and it's very good. We got an award here. Why don't we just try and take it?
Sure. I mean, you could shop it to like a streaming platform, Prime or Netflix or Hulu.
That is in the works right now. I'm trying to do that on my own. But like I said, I still keep in touch with the director, and he's moving on to other things, which I understand. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to try and get it into local schools here in Japan, because this is a situation that is actually happening on a level that is actually increasing.
Sure.
It's just not really publicized at this point, but it's actually on a level.
You think bullying in school is increasing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I thought it was decreasing. So tell me more.
I actually saw an article in the Japan Times that was speaking about this. So anytime I go out and try to market my movie to get it into various prefectures, I take this article on with me to explain why I'm doing this. It's not a matter of me only trying to get my product out there,
right?
But it's me trying to get the message out there to parents, to kids.
Sure.
Parents, it's like it does exist.
Yeah.
Children, this is what you can actually do to overcome, to push past this. So that's my message.
Here we have a similar situation to what you talked about earlier when, regarding your parents thinking that you were trying to, get in for a visa or something like that. When you have something that benefits you, but is also a message you want to deliver, then the duplicity, it seems kind of duplicitous. Like, is this guy just trying to forward an agenda, or is he actually trying to help? And why can't it be both? But in the case of this, I want to give people a glimpse into what it's like to live in Japan. So I'm talking to people who live in Japan, and they can listen to the life. Now, will that benefit me? Hopefully in the future, yes. Yeah. And hopefully it benefits you. But that's not why I'm doing it necessarily. I'm doing it because, well, this is fun and stuff, and I do hope that it becomes big. But like I told you before we started, even if it does, if nobody watches this, well, we had a good time talking today anyway, and I know more about you now. So
I think it's an even exchange. You know, if you actually have something that is going to benefit the masses, it's definitely going to benefit you too.
Yeah.
Whether it be monetary, whether it be giving you global success or putting your name on a pedestal for a particular period of time, it's going to reward you in that way.
Sure.
But it's also going to reward the people in the same sense, because they're being educated in a different way to understand that this does exist and this person is bringing it to light. For the children on their side, we know it's there. We experience it. But what do we do about it?
Right. Yeah, you know, like Taylor Swift is one of the richest people in the world, and she writes breakup songs, and those breakup songs mend a lot of hearts around the world, I'm sure, but she's benefiting it from it, as she should.
Yes.
And so, whenever you have a message that reaches a lot of people, you should benefit from having put that message out there, I think. Especially this one, because it's actually come as a little surprise to me. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research on it. But if you have any more to say about it, please tell me. Because just Friday I played a gig, and a friend told me that he's worried about his daughter like being bullied at school, and I thought like, that doesn't happen anymore. Like, it used to happen 20 years ago, but people. I actually thought that maybe Japanese kids would finally be at the point where they're like, oh, cool, there's a foreigner in my class, and great, whatever. But so that's wrong thinking. Tell me what's going on, like even just the article that you read or experiences you've had.
I would say with the introduction of the internet, and we're able to see what happens on any particular area of the world on a daily basis, that trends will flow into every area.
Right, okay.
We used to have a situation in America where there were shootings on the freeway. People would get upset and then they'd have a shooting. There was a situation to where someone would throw a brick off of the bridge into a car.
Right.
These are just various trends that they also followed into other states,
right.
into other areas, and people just duplicated it. So I say this is actually continuously happening now. Something that is happening in America, now it's happening in Japan, now it's happening in Philippines, now it's happening in Europe, because now it's exposed. It's exposable now. And the youth who actually have phones, they have access to it as well.
I see.
It's harmless from the very beginning, and then it escalates.
I see. So what kind of things are we talking about? What kind of bullying? Did the article mention anything, or like?
Well, I guess you could say this was more of a racism bullying.
Oh, okay. I see.
You're a different race. You don't really fit in. You're a Gaijin. Name calling to these extents. In America or other places, it may go into physical fights, but I think in Japan right now, it's just more of just name calling and not really into the physical sense as much.
I see.
It could also move into that if there's not an inversion to something coming in to play a major role to separate and say, hey, let's stop this here. There's better ways to actually spend your time, and also better ways to actually put this to rest.
Yeah, because I talked to a couple friends who have kids in Japan, and they never said anything about it. But of course, it depends on the person, it depends on the school, it depends on the atmosphere. It also depends on, like you said, of trends. Maybe the 5 foreigners who came in the 5 years before them all got bullied a lot, and less and less and less and less, and then by the time it came along, the school had adopted a more tolerable atmosphere. I thought that because Japanese people are watching so many Korean dramas and, you know, American dramas and watching movies all the time that this would actually have a positive influence on them. But you know, kids will be kids, and kids are nasty, and they're group oriented. They're like little, they're like the most instinctual of humans. They just...
I know when I was in grade school and I experienced any kind of bullying, I never told my parents either as well. Now, if it escalated to every single day and I was, you know, harmed or something like that, I would definitely, you know, want to expose it. But if it was just, you know, out of the ordinary, not every day, it was just someone who was just...
Someone being a jerk.
I would never bring it to my parents.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, so there could be a lot of foreigners in Japan. I mean, foreign kids in Japan who are just kind of like sucking it up and just being patient with it. Yeah.
But it's a different sucking up in every instance, because depending on where you're from, how do you suck it up?
Right,
do you actually take it to heart, or do you just brush it off?
It depends on your character, because some people are unfazed by anything, and but some people are, you know, bothered by the slightest things. And we all know, like, even when we grow up in a homogenous society or nearly homogenous society in Canada, almost everybody I went to school with was white. Growing up sucks, you know, when you're a kid. Like there's a lot of growing pains and a lot of this girl doesn't like me, and you know, and this guy said something bad, and people get bullied outside of racist reasons, just because you're smaller. Some guy just picks on you, or because you said something stupid, and then everybody like makes fun of you, and you know, or because you're not as whatever as somebody else, and that's tough enough. But then you give anybody an extra reason to make fun of you, like whatever it is, and kids will just go for the throat, you know, every time, you know.
You're still trying to figure it out, and they realize that. You know, they realize that you're the new bloom, and then therefore they're going to try and see how much you know. What do you know? What can you do? How strong are you?
Yeah, exactly.
How weak are you? You know, this is always the testing ground for children. I ask my children all the time, you know, how was school? Great. I can't imagine every day being really great.
No.
But I think my wife may have conditioned my children to suck it up, not complain, brush it off to the point to where you're gonna get through this. You're gonna actually be able to handle it. You're gonna get better at it. And it's not going to affect you. So.
Well, unfortunately, there's a line where we can say that somebody would develop character by the adversity that they face. And then there gets into this dangerous zone where kids actually commit suicide because they're bullied so much. And it's even happened in Japan where Japanese kids commit suicide in an all-Japanese class because they're bullied so relentlessly that they just don't want to live anymore, and they off themselves. And so if this situation can exist in an all-Japanese class in a mostly or all-Japanese school for a Japanese kid, then it can definitely happen when somebody's different and the target of more attention. And the problem is, I talked about this too a couple of nights ago, the problem is Japanese schools don't seem to do anything about it. Because a long time ago, educators had top position in society. Anything that the teacher said, the students and the parents would go, "Oh, I'm sorry." You know, if they said, you know, your kid's not doing enough homework, you know, get on it. Then the parents would be, "I'm so sorry. You know, we'll do better," and then the problem was solved. These days, no, he does homework every night. You know, my Kenji, he would never not do his homework. And now, what are you calling me a liar? And then if I say that he doesn't have his homework done, now the teacher is calling the parents a liar, and now we have something in Japan that is a no-go. It's like face-saving fight. Somebody has to save face here, and you enter in this no-win situation where the parents complain to the school can't complain about the parents, the teacher has to toe the line to keep the parents happy and to keep the school happy, and the school, you know, it's just like this unwinnable situation. So a lot of bullying goes on.
Untested,
Yeah, and
unnoticed,
right,
overlooked.
and like purposely overlooked.
Yeah.
They know it's happening,
Yeah,
but they can't do anything about it.
yeah. This is where I am, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, this is where I am. I know what's going on. I know that it's only going to increase with the amount of foreigners that they're wanting to bring into the country. It will only increase. Not that anybody is coming over to look for it. Like, yeah, I want to really go to Japan to be bullied. It's going to be less bullying than I experience here. No one's actually thinking of that way. But the matter is, how do you prepare? How do you prepare for basically a mega earthquake? How do you prepare for that?
Right. Yeah.
You know, you never know when it's going to come.
Right.
You know, just like racism, you never know when it's going to actually face you
Yeah.
head on, and you're going to have to do something about it. You never know.
Right.
So this kind of situation, as I was wanting to address with, I started with even the Kobe City Council.
Oh, okay, good.
Trying to basically explain to them, and I also sent them the article as well. Nothing was actually done because there's so much decision making that actually occurs in trying to get something like this done. Nobody wants to be wrong, which is understandable to a certain extent. But if you know it's happening and you know that it can possibly change by being addressed, I don't see the hesitation myself.
I think it's a great idea going to Kobe City Council, and also, and another thing that might help is, Bahram, he has the Peace in Nature, the Peace in Nature group, the non-profit organization in Kobe. They do a lot of things, farming and teaching kids about farming and vegetables and stuff like that. Where vegetables come from, and how to make rice and stuff like that. Anyway, what he started doing, and I think it was partly my idea a long time ago, is he started going to specific schools. He just went to the school and said, "Hi, my name's Bak." He speaks Japanese really well. Okay. He just went to the school and, "Hi, my name's Bakram, and I have Peace in Nature, this non-profit organization, and I teach kids about, farming and sustainable lifestyle and SDGs." And he said, "I would like to do something here, like maybe a workshop where we get the mothers together and show them how to make meals using really healthy ingredients and teach about organic stuff." And then they say, "Oh, okay, well, I guess you could do that." And they'd have some after school thing, and the mothers gather around, and they have some chef or whatever. Not that you need to go that far, but it could be something like that. If you could talk to a teacher in a school, and they say, like, "Do you have 45 minutes or an hour, 45 minutes, and then, discussion worksheet or something like that to spend on my movie?" You could even make the worksheet yourself. And get into a school. And then if you have a couple of schools, then you can go back to Mombusho, the Board of Education, and you can say, "I already have 3 schools using my little program. It takes an hour, or it takes an hour and 15 minutes, or it takes 2 50-minute classes. One class they watch, then they have to do this homework assignment, and the next class they have a little discussion group about the themes. And, these 3 teachers have already done it, and I have a survey from the kids saying what they learned or something like that. It's a lot of extra work, but but possibly getting into a couple of schools might be good too.
Yeah.
Bakram has done it with success. That's why I mentioned it. Yeah.
I think in this instance, what you're saying is very good. It's a very good idea. I think, but what I would need to do is I'd need to get a Japanese representative to actually explain to them what the outcome would look like, and be able to promote it that way.
I can get you an introduction to some. School teachers. Maybe Bakram could tell me some. He would probably speak English really well too, and tell me what you're up to, and they'd probably be receptive to it, or try to do something.
Love to.
Yeah. Okay, you need to write that down.
Let me check my schedule right quick. I have an event tonight. And I have to see what time I need to be there.
We've already been recording for 2 hours.
Yeah.
This might be the record, the longest podcast I've done so far. Had I let my buddy Mark talk as much as he wanted to, we could have gone 8 hours. But No, but we can end it here. That was a good note
Okay,
to
yeah,
end on.
so I have to be there at 5. I gotta go back and change.
Oh my God, you only have 35 minutes.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, you got that movie. It's on YouTube, and you've got your own YouTube channel, and we'll put this out on there too, and your Instagram, whatever, and I'll put them all in the notes
Gotcha.
of this.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot, man. That was great.
My man, it's
Great
a
getting
pleasure.
to know you. It's been so long. We've had like 10-minute conversations like 3 or 4 times, and it's never enough.
Yeah.
Because it's always at an event or something like that. So that's good.
Always
to sit down
a
and talk.
performing is like you're coming, they're going, you're coming,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
going, that kind of thing. That's
And
always
rarely
fun.
on stage at the same time
Exactly.
too. So
But we gotta arrange a show.
yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do.
let's
Let's
do
just
that.
do some, just a variety of songs.
Sure.
You know,
We can even make a YouTube video.
there you go. Why not?